My latest book that has come out is a series actually, they're one, and book 1 and 2 is Rebels in Rajasthan and Poachers in Paradise. These books were born out of my very keen need or desire, you can say, for conveying or exploring India for the children, because children really do not know much about different parts of the country. Like if you are living in Maharashtra, you know around Maharashtra, maybe a little bit if you have some relatives elsewhere, but the rest of the country is very relatively unknown to them. Who are these people? What are their lives like? What's their customs, traditions? And so I wrote this series of books which it starts with their uncle Jadoo, who is a magician, and it's sort of to make it interesting for the kids who has been kidnapped. And of course the jinn who has kidnapped him throws the keys in different parts of the country, and the kids have to solve the puzzle. And the first clue takes them to Rajasthan, and there, whilst they are looking for the key, they come into a kind of a coup is happening out there. Somebody's trying to overthrow the kingdom, and so they are into the sand dunes and camel chases and princes and the dance festivals and the food of Rajasthan. All that is happening, whilst they're also finding out about different animals and the wildlife in Rajasthan. So that is Rebels in Rajasthan. Second one, Poachers in Paradise, is again when they figure out the first clue, now they have a second clue which takes them to Kashmir, and in Kashmir they happen upon poachers. They meet this Kashmiri girl called Zoon, and soon they're hot in pursuit of the poachers, who is killing wild goats and snow leopards and the hungul for the antlers. And so they sort of resolve that get help in catching the poachers, and that's the second story, and the third, fourth should be soon on its way. Well, the story starts with there's two characters, Vayu and Diya, the two children, whose uncle Jadoo is the one who's been kidnapped, and the uncle wants them to help him escape by finding the keys and to release him from his where he's confined. And he leaves a clue for them. So these kids are now on the hunt. They're pretty bright kids. They resolve the clue. The clue is very actually quite cryptic, and it says, you know, desert bear, maiden fair, lock of hair. It's very, very cryptic. And the second clue is valley green, mogul queen, marble screen. And based on these 6-7 words, that they have to actually find out where the key is that will help release their uncle. So it's sort of it's quite exciting because they discover the land. Like in Kashmir, for instance, they find that there are floating gardens where people grow vegetables, and you have the floating markets, and you have the floating houses, which are the houseboats. And then the poachers, the kind of animals that are being poached on the life, they go to Zoon's house, the little girl, Kashmiri girl's house, so they'll get into the Wazwan, which is the feast. So it's really in discovering the country, discovering that place, the land of Kashmir. Well, it takes quite some time, because when you start from inception, and my books are research, I research them a lot. So research takes time, and also when you research, there's so much information that you like to convey. So what do you actually convey? What will kids like? How much information would they like? And that's all the factors you're playing around with. And so I think each book took me minimum, I think, 8 months to write. Well, researching happens online through books on Rajasthan. I saw a book on palaces of Rajasthan, so I mentioned the Sheesh Mahal, I mentioned the kind of the place that it is, discover it, the kind of lifestyle which would be happening out there. So there are enough books available on Rajasthan and Kashmir for me to do the research. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part is exactly how do I weave it into the story, and how much is the difficult part. Because it has to be just enough. Like for instance, in in Poachers in Paradise, the clue takes him to the Himalayas, and Vayu, the boy is like a nerdy, he loves information, and he says, do you know, Diya, that the mountains are still growing, the tectonic plates are moving, and they're pushing the mountains up? And she says, I don't have a geography lesson out here, so she cuts him short. But the information has gone through, that this is how the mountains are growing, there's the mountain ranges happening out there. So it's a learning process for the kids, and still it's fun, a lot of fun and adventure. This would be about the 6 to the 8, maximum 10-year-olds. I think kids are pretty savvy, our Indian kids are pretty savvy. In America, when I read to the 10-year-old kids, and they were fine with it. But I think our kids, the 6 to 8-year-old, would be something more suitable to them.